Good morning. It's the 22nd of May. Feeling a bit better today. Why? Well, because I was inspired. During the war, Winston Churchill gave a very famous speech. I think they call the speech fighting with peaches or something like that. I don't know how peaches are going to defeat the Nazis, but in that speech he always said, never give up, never surrender. And I've got that in my mind. I am not going to give up on this Range Rover, and I shall tell you for the reason why. I read the comments on all of your messages and I try to reply to as many as possible, and the same with emails. I was brought up to think that if somebody was kind enough to write to me, it's not kind enough to write a reply. So that's what I try to do. So I always read the comments. More important than the video sometimes. Now, some chap in Germany wrote to me and he says, Mike, why not use a P38 ECU? I thought, why didn't I think of that? Sometimes things can be glaring you in the face and you don't think of it. Because you see, we have a Disco 1 engine, so naturally, when the old computer was all covered in rust and corrosion, but it was an unlocked one, I thought I'll just put in a Disco one, exactly the same, and we bought an emulator to go onto the board. If you cast your minds back to the video, you'll see that there was a little chip that I soldered onto the board thinking it would work. Well, it doesn't. So what's the next step? Well, P38 ECU. Why? Because the Nanocom was only looking for a P38 GEMS ECU. That was it. So why did it not look at this GEMS? And I found out. Why? How? Well, because another comment said, why not use artificial intelligence to look for your answer? And I thought, well, maybe. I've got nothing to lose. And that chap was 100% right. So I went on X and I used Grok. And I simply typed in, where's my page here? I simply typed in something stupid. Wait a minute. Oh, hold on, I'll find it. I asked it two questions. The first question was, how does a Land Rover GEMS security work? And I got 2 pages of answers in 1-2 seconds. Unbelievable. Now, it just confirmed everything I knew anyway, but with 1 or 2 little bits and pieces. So I'll just read out this, and maybe it's an answer to why people said, oh, just put carburetors on it. No, you can't. You can't just put carburetors on a GEMS engine. You can on a 14 CUX, which was the 3.9. On these you can't, because the ECU, the computer, not only controls the fueling on and off, and it controls the fuel pump, but it also controls the ignition, because it hasn't got a distributor. So it says here, the GEMS system is paired with the body control module, the BECM on a P38, or the 10AS security models like on the Disco 1, neither of which we have, hence we need the standalone computer. The engine control unit, ECU, requires a specific security code from the BECM or the 10AS to allow the engine to start. We knew that. Without this code, the ECU remains unpowered or immobilized, preventing ignition and fuel pump activation. So we knew that. If the BECM or the 10AS does not send a valid mobilization signal, e.g. due to lost connection or alarm activation, the ECU will not power up and the engine won't start. This is designed to prevent theft, even if the key is used. So there we go. Let's put that one to bed. They said it better than I could. But yeah, I'm going to put the wording like I put in the comments below, and then you can search for it and you can read all these papers. So we've got a Discovery 1 GEMS here, and it won't communicate with a nanocom which is looking for a P38. So yesterday I went online and I bought a P38 ECU, and I bought it from eBay. I was looking all over the place and I found one on eBay, and to my surprise there was one there, $47, not $470, $47, $15 shipping by UPS to Canada in New York, guaranteed for 6 months. Wow. Now what is interesting about that? Well, it's a P38, but the other thing about that is the P38 used to have the ECU in a waterproof box. Discovery just stuck out in the open. You might as well put it on the bloody roof. No seals on it whatsoever. Now when I get it, I'm going to take the covers off and seal it with some sealer, just in case, because there's no box on that one. Now, this had me puzzled for quite a while. Why can't the nanocom read the GEMS, and why won't it read? Why won't it go? And it's because it must be looking for the VIN number. The VIN number is tied to the ECU. Okay? That's how it must know. Now for a little bit of information here on VIN numbers. Again, go onto Grok or any AI thing and type in list of Land Rover VIN decodes. 5 pages of it. I'm not going to read it all out. But interestingly enough, we all know that VIN numbers start with SAL. The S stands for Europe, the A stands for UK, and the L stands for Land Rover. That's pretty much across the board. But then it goes into vehicle descriptor selection. Characters 4 to 5, model code identifying specific Land Rover models, and this is it. So Land Rover is SALLD, Defender, see? The early ones. SALLP is Range Rover P38. SLL, wait a minute, let's get this right. SALLJ is Discovery 1. So that's what it must be looking for. If it's looking for that code, it won't work. So it's looking for the first few letters of it. Alright, so that's what it's looking for, because once you get into an ECU, it's looking for, well, what is it? Is it a 4.6 or a 4 litre? See? So that's the gateway into it. It's looking for the VIN. Smart, eh? So, knowing that, with the ECU, we've got probably access to it. Now, another feather in our cap is, I didn't buy it, but the customer bought an emulator for a P38. A little chip that goes under the board, and I think you saw it in one of the last videos I did. So we've already got that, so it's not wasted money. So if we can get into the P38 computer, and it's going to tell us if it's in a locked or unlocked state, we can then put the emulator in and then reprogram it, and the emulator should say unlocked. If it does that, oh happy days. Alright, so I'm not going to give up on this yet. The Mega Squirt, when I looked at it, was quite expensive once you got the shipping involved. It was the kit. I'm going off a few months ago when I asked about this, but the kit alone, just the shipping, was 147 quid, just for the shipping. 1,300 or $1,400 pounds, I think it was now. That's kind of pricey. And then messing about fitting it. Now, there seems to be an awful lot of problems with these GEMS securities, because as you know, when you start to look around the internet and things like this and search for GEMS, a lot of those 4 litres, 4.6s were fitted into Morgan cars, and they've had equally the same problems of finding out how you can access the computer if it hasn't got a security code. And this is the problem with this car here, this Range Rover, because this was a 1995 dash into this car, and the security coding was all integral with, I think it was the window control and everything. The windows work fine, there's not a problem with that, But the body control computer in this one is going to throw out a completely different code because it was on a 14 CUX system with a distributor but fuel injection. Alright, so that's why we can't use that one. Chalk and cheese, it won't work. So if we had a 10AS system, you know those little green boxes? I'll tell you what, wait a minute, I'll go and get you one, I'll show you. Here she be! You've seen these before, eh? Tucked behind a Defender dashboard, it controls your blip blip, you know, your key thing. It's got all sorts going through. Your indicator lights go through there for four-way flashing. When you open the door, that goes through a separate circuit to tell the ECU to arm itself or whatever if it hasn't been disarmed with the click beep beep thing. These were very, very reliable until it came off the production line. Once it was out on the road, they suffered terribly from dry joints. Not smoking joints like Bob Marley like, but they suffered terribly from dry joints. There was ways to get by a lot of the security things by putting a spider in the disco, but it yeah, it was problematic. And just to add insult into injury, they had different frequencies depending on different countries. So your little key fob thing with a button on would only work on certain countries. This one is 315 megahertz. The United States is something like 400 and something megahertz. So you can't use one of these with a key thing from UK. It doesn't work. You have to have a matching key with the same frequency. Oh, it's terrible. I'll tell you a little story while I'm at it about things like this. So many years ago, when I had a Defender, I had a 300 TDI and I put in it a few, what was it now? A security switch? Oh, a heater, that's right. I put a diesel heater in it. And I thought I'd be a real clever bugger. And I got a little remote control unit from my keyring that would switch on the fuel heater from a distance. Brilliant. But it seemed to be, every time I sort of went to it, the battery was flat. I couldn't work out. Now, my fuel level was going down. I couldn't work it out. I hadn't used it. Anyway, after a little while, I cottoned on. It was the same frequency as some, like cordless telephones, because it was from China. They don't care. And it was switching itself on because I found out by just looking out my window and I looked at the exhaust coming out. I thought, what the hell's turning that on? I've still got it in my hand. You know, I haven't switched it on, and there it was blaring away. So frequencies are really important. So it really is important when you're sort of mixing and matching things around to get the same things, and that's why we've got to match this to a P38, even though it doesn't know it's a P38. You know, it's big, it's a little brother, but the ECU will talk to the nanocom. I hope. No, I think it'll work. I'm sure it'll work. But I never tweaked it. I thought all GEMS were the same. You know, that's where we're going. So that we'll wait until next week. But today we're going to be building differentials. So stick around.